Welcome. We're glad that you are joining us. I'm going to start by introducing myself and my co-host. So my name is Kathy Hurlbert. I am an instructional technology specialist for Northeast. I support 4 different elementary campuses. I've been a longtime Seesaw user, big advocate of it, but we are having to learn how to use the tool in a very unique and different way now. And so that is the goal of our webinar today. I do want to introduce my co-host, Laura. Laura, will you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Laura. I do exactly what Kathy does, but at 4 different other campuses. So good to see you.
Yep.
See.
And Laura, you can handle the waiting room on your end, right?
Yes, I'm doing it right now.
Okay, awesome. All right. So welcome to today's training. We are going to focus on distance learning with Seesaw. Hopefully you have dabbled a little bit with Seesaw in the past. If you have not, and you need some basic instruction on it, I would either check the webinar schedule for beyond or for basic Seesaw courses, or I'm going to show you another place to go. So I'm going to navigate over to Launchpad for a minute to show you where you can go and find some good information. So in my Launchpad, if I scroll down, there is, they changed the icon to Teacher Distance Learning page. So this is our district teacher distance learning page. And on this page, if you navigate down to elementary, and there'll be an option to choose your platform, you'll see the Seesaw icon here. And this page will take you to all sorts of information to help you get started with Seesaw. So this is not a basic level class. So if you haven't used Seesaw at all before, you probably want to navigate there to get some more information. While I'm here, I also do want to show you that on this tab, there is information for you on virtual meetings. So if you're interested in learning about Zoom, and our webinar calendar is here. And so this is a live document, and it is being updated constantly. So if you're looking for courses where you need to learn some new tools for distance learning, this is your go-to source for that. And then once this is over, you'll be able to come back a little bit later and find the recorded webinars here if you need to come back and reference them. So that is that. So let's go ahead and talk about first what we're going to learn. So again, this is a kind of a higher level Seesaw class. So in the years that I used Seesaw as a teacher, basically what I did is I instructed within the classroom. So I stood up, I used all different instructional things, methods and subscription sources and whatever, and I delivered the instruction to students. And at this point in this situation that we're finding ourselves in, and then my students would of course use Seesaw to show what they've learned or demonstrate and apply their learning. So that's how I used it in the past. The situation that we're in now is that we're not right in front of kids all the time. And so we're having to look at how we deliver content to students in a new way. And Seesaw is a fantastic vehicle that's going to enable you to do that, to deliver instruction. I have had, a lot of people say, well, parents are having a hard time getting to the resources. We're just going to give them paper packets. And I really want to strongly discourage you from that, because this isn't distance busy work, it is distance learning. So we need to be providing instruction for students still at this point. We're still being paid to do that. And so I'm going to teach you how to use Seesaw as a vehicle to deliver that instruction to students with the ability for them to use and apply the concepts you're learning. So what we're going to look at today is how to create mini lessons with Seesaw activities. We're going to learn how to use the features within Seesaw, like the whiteboard, captions, and recording to do that. We'll also look at some features outside of Seesaw that you can pull in. We'll talk about how to share activities with your teammates and how to deliver them to students. And we'll also talk briefly about how to stay connected with kids and provide really good feedback to move them along in their learning. So a couple of housekeeping things before we get started that I want to share with you. So Laura is going to be manning the chat in our webinar. So if you hover towards the bottom of your Zoom screen, you'll get your little black menu bar. And over on that menu bar, you're going to see a little box, a little icon that says chat. If you click that chat button, it'll open up the chat window on the side of your screen. So if I'm talking and you have questions, you can go ahead and drop those in there, and I'll pause regularly to stop and answer questions. And of course, we will answer questions at the end as well. I do have everyone muted right now. So if you are at the end, if you want to unmute yourself to ask a question, that will be a option for you as well. Let's see, for attendance, at the end of the webinar, towards the end, I'm going to post a Google form link in the chat box. You will click into that Google form, and it's very simple. I just want to know who you are, what school you're from, and then and you'll be able to list any additional questions there. So I have tried really hard to use that data from that form to follow up with people after the webinar. So if maybe you have a question that we didn't get to, or something you want to know more about, you definitely want to put it on that form. Laura and I chatted after yesterday's webinar and decided to do a new class that we'll be offering probably the week after next, based on what people were saying. So that's a good place to let us know what your needs are. The instructional technology team is really working hard to really meet your needs as a learner, learning how to navigate the waters of distance learning. So also at the end of the Google form, once you submit your form, you'll have a little submission pop-up screen that says, thanks for submitting your form, and the link to today's slide deck will be posted there. So you can copy the link and then get access to the slide deck. All right, so Laura, we're ready to jump in. Anything popping up in the chat?
Not yet. Just people are continuing to ring the doorbell, so
Yes.
bear with us.
The good news is I turned that off for the viewers, so it's
okay. So it's me that hears it. Going nuts.
Yep. All right, guys. So let's jump in and talk about it. So we had some talk with the curriculum team as we're, working on preparing lessons, and kind of structuring the instructional planning guides for distance learning. And the thought process was that we could, in theory, create activities and just hand them to you guys. But in light of the situation right now, our students are at home, they're isolated, and you are the person that they have the connection with, their teacher. And so what we decided is we really want to give you guys the skill set to create these things and add your own voice and your own face to them. So when you're delivering the instruction to students, they're hearing their teacher's voice and seeing your face, not someone they don't know. So that's kind of the thought process behind it. We're not trying to make more work for you. We're trying to do what's best for kids. So Seesaw is an awesome tool. It's got a lot of capabilities. And even if you've used it before, I'm willing to bet you're going to learn a few new things today. So I'm going to hop over to my Seesaw. Actually, I'm going to hop to my distance learning IPG first. So we want to be kind of following what the IPG is offering, but we know that we're experiencing a lot of issues with students being able to access district subscription resources through Launchpad. I'm not saying to not use those by any means. If your students know how to get into Launchpad and access those, absolutely use them. You can share the links to those things in Seesaw, but it is a little tricky getting kids there. So I'm going to turn it over to Laura for a minute so she can kind of explain that real quick. Go ahead, Laura.
Yeah, do you want me to share my screen or just say?
Sure. I'll stop share. Go ahead.
Forgive me for my, let's see, hold on.
Sorry, I popped that on you.
Sorry about that. All right, yeah, I'm sorry about the hairless cat. You can't see him because he's covered up right now. Okay, so it's a little bit tricky the way that students have to get to the content that is embedded within Seesaw or even Google Classroom. So if my Seesaw activity right here has a link to an activity, let me see if I can find, covering it up, hold on just a minute. Okay, so if I go to my activities and I have a link right here, this happens to be a YouTube video But what if it's a brain pop video? What if it is something in Discovery Education? This will not open from Seesaw unless the credentials have been authenticated in Launchpad first. So yes, you put the link in here, just like you have to go through Launchpad, log in, grab the link, and insert it into your activities. But what the students have to do on their end in order for this link to work is open a tab, and they're already going to be logged into Launchpad. So that part is not going to be tedious. So I'm going to log into Launchpad because they have to be logged in anyway to get to Seesaw or Google Classroom. But they have to have the app open that you are linking to, because that is what authenticates your credentials. So if I go to Library Services and I want to view a BrainPop video, I have to open it. It will authenticate. You'll see my username up in the corner, and then I have to go back to Seesaw. Now I click on the link, and the video will play. So it's a little cumbersome. Unfortunately, it is what it is because we are paying for this content. So that is how students have to do it. Now you do have an alternative. If you don't want to link it, you can say, just write in the instructions, open Launchpad, click on the library folder, click on BrainPop, search for fill in the blank, and watch the video. So there's an option to do that as well. It's pretty much up to you how you want to do that, but that's how that works. Any questions? So I had a parent trying to get into BrainPop. It was probably not working for them, I'm assuming, Jennifer? You can unmute yourself if you want.
Sorry, yeah, I was like, that might be easier. Correct. He couldn't get on, and he was saying that it kept popping up as like he needed to put in a new username and password.
Yes, that is exactly what happens if you do not authenticate in Launchpad first.
Okay.
I made a video tutorial of everything that I just did, and I'm going to pop it into the chat room for you. So maybe that is something that you want to send to parents and have them watch beforehand.
Laura, I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, so if we're getting all of these free resources from everywhere right now, like Discover Kids and Epic Books, and so if we have to get an account as from the district or just as a teacher, and we will it? Do they still?
So I can kind of speak to that a little bit. So different resources work in different ways, but most of the resources, even though they're being offered for free right now, they are requiring you to sign up for an account. So what I'm going to recommend and what we're going to walk through today is how to utilize some of the non-subscription things to create lessons within there. So, I mean, teachers can set up Epic for free for kids at home right now. They can set up all these different things, but they can put those things in the directions of a Seesaw activity, but they're going to need to add in there how the kids get in. Like Epic, they have to have a code to get in. So they're not just, these things are being offered for free, but they're not just like open links that we can direct kids to in most situations. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Laura, agree?
Yes.
Okay.
Here's the link, y'all.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Somebody asked about EduSmart and STEM scopes. You have to do the same thing, open them up before they go to the link, right?
Yep.
Is that correct, Laura?
Anything that is subscription based in Launchpad, yes. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get rocking and rolling because we've got a lot to cover. So if you will continue to drop your questions into the chat box, and then we'll pause in just a little bit. So we're seeing a plethora of issues of families having a very difficult time navigating to those resources. So I do want to share with you some other ideas on ways that you can package lessons using other materials. So I'm looking at one of the distance learning IPGs for first grade. and I'm looking here at what we're supposed to do. And so what I'm looking for is some non-subscription things that I can download and grab. So if I hover right here to this these look like these are sound cards that I can actually download. Anything that I can download from the IPG, I can actually create lessons with. So I see that, and links to things like YouTube, things that are open and don't require sign-in. Those are things that I can utilize into Seesaw activities. So that's really what we're going to focus on right now. Some of the IPGs have Seesaw activities on them already, and that's awesome. But again, Seesaw was being used prior to this for students to demonstrate content that had been taught in class. So even if there are Seesaw activities here, you want to take it another step up and add a lesson to it. So let's take a look at how to do that. So I'm in my Seesaw class. Hopefully you have some experience, like I mentioned with Seesaw. I landed on my journal page. This is where student work has gone that has been completed. So to go to where I'm going to create activities is going to be in the Seesaw activity library. To get there, I'm going to click my green plus and click assign activity, and that's going to take me to the library. When I land in the Seesaw library, there are three libraries essentially in here. There's the community library, and that is where all the activities that have ever been submitted by Seesaw ambassadors live. There are literally millions and millions of them. I can navigate down by grade level. I can use this general search menu, which I'm going to recommend that you never do because you don't have time for that. So I'm going to recommend that you navigate to your grade level and then search skill-specific content like characters and setting. So you can look at what's out there and available for the specific skill that you're searching for. So just by pulling up that you can see it's scrolling. There are tons of things that are already made for you.
Look at this, Mama.
Laura, can you take care of that one?
Sorry.
Yeah.
So that is the community library. So if your IPG does not have things linked on it, this is where you can go to find activities and then build on top of them. Your school and district library is where you're going to find activities that have been shared by people at your campus, in your grade level, or within the district. So, and I'll show you how to share things to your school library with your team as well in a little bit. And again, you can go by, narrow down by grade level. Do not use the all subject search. Use the search box over here so you work smarter, not harder. The last library I want to mention is My Library. So My Library is where activities live that you have either saved or created. So I can go to the community library and I can find an activity, and let's just say I wanted to work on a sight word activity. So what I did is clicked on the activity so I could see a full view. To move this activity to My Library, I'm going to click on the heart. That saves it to my library. Once I've clicked on the heart and saved it, now I can click the three dots and scroll down, and it gives me the option to copy and edit. So this activity belongs to Mr. H. Kindergarten, but once I've saved it, I can actually make a copy and edit it so I can add to it and build on top of it. So you don't have to start from scratch. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can take something beautiful that's already made and build onto it with your instruction. So let's take a look at what I'm talking about with that. So I'm going to go into my library. I found a activity that was on the IPG that was focusing on reading words with an I pattern. And again, if you don't have one on your IPG, you can go to the community library or school library and find one. So I know in 2 weeks, we're going to be teaching first grade about the IGH vowel pattern. So right now, this activity is just set up for kids to do something with it. They're going to demonstrate their learning. What it's missing is the instructional piece. And again, my job as the teacher is to deliver instruction to students. So I'm going to go ahead and click my three dots, and I'm going to do copy and edit. So to kind of help you understand the anatomy of the activity, up at the top, I've got my activity name. Then I have the written student instructions. You notice where I have the word add, I've got little colons around it. That is because I'm going to use that. When I publish this activity, it's going to take that word add and actually make it into an icon that matches what the kids are going to see in Seesaw. So at the end, in the slide deck that I'm going to share with you today, I'm going to give you a copy of those activity icon shortcuts so you know how to do that yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Right here, I have my voice instructions. So if you find an activity that you like, but it's another teacher's voice, if you can delete it, and then this is what it would look like. I just click record, and then I go ahead and read my directions. Tap add and select your name, move the words to match the pictures, so on and so forth. When I'm done recording, I hit stop, and it's going to tie those directions to the activity. So we've got our activity name, directions, our voice recording. Down here, underneath the voice recording is what we call our multimedia instructions. This is a really important piece that I want you to take a picture in your mind with. This is where we're going to deliver the content to students. This is where we're going to do our teaching. So I'm going to go ahead and click Add Multimedia Instructions. And you notice how there's a plus right here. Anytime in Seesaw that I see the plus, I'm going to have the ability to use all of these creative tools. So I remember I showed you a minute ago that the district had some sound cards that I was able to download. So I'm going to go ahead and go to upload, and I'm going to grab that resource from my computer. And I remember I tried to be organized and put them in this folder. So I'm going to go grab them and add them into my lesson. It's going to pull that PDF in, and I'm going to be able to use that to actually do some instruction. So I've got my PDF here, and now I'm going to come here to the microphone and tap it, and I'm going to record my voice teaching about it. Hi guys, oops, sorry, need to turn the pencil off. We're going to learn today about the IGH pattern. IGH is a team that works together to say I. Go on to the next page to learn more. I'm going to click done. Over here on the right, you see my second page, and I'm going to do the same thing on this page. I do want to show you, when I click the record button, look down by the eraser. Once I start recording, I've got a little arrow, and this is really good for clarity. I can actually point while I'm recording now. So explaining, you know, this is a Y at the end of the word. It also can say I. IE can work together to say I, so on and so forth. To go on, I click done. So this is very basic. I've just given the kids the sound card, but I've added some instruction to it, and I can actually build onto this even further. So if I go down to the right and I click add page, I have basically a blank whiteboard now that I can add my own instructional piece to. So for this particular activity, I've taught the students a pattern with the Val team. I'm going to go ahead to my 3 dots. Whoops, I don't want shapes right now. 3 dots. When I click 3 dots, I've got an option for shapes and background. If you noticed when I accidentally clicked that, there are lots of tools here that you can utilize for lessons. Place value blocks, shape blocks, math symbols. We're working on more of a phonics activity, so I'm going to go to background. And just to make it pretty, I'm going to go ahead and add a background to my slide. So I taught the kids about this pattern, and now I actually want to add something in to demonstrate for the students how to apply this pattern. So what I'm doing is just clicking the T and adding text boxes. When I click away from the text box, I can go ahead and make it big. I can also copy and paste it with my Control-C, Control-D. And again, once I have set up my canvas, I can go ahead and record, and I'm going to record one more time to show you how you can also use the drawing tools on this.
Kathy, can I interrupt you for a minute?
Oh, sure. I just started recording. Well, hang on one second. Yes, go ahead.
I asked you at the worst possible time. I'm so sorry. We have a question, and I actually don't know the answer to this. It was, how long can the recordings be? Do you know if there is a time limit on these recordings?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay. There are multiple questions about being able to add additional multimedia content or additional links into these Seesaw activities.
We are going to get there.
Okay, thank you.
Yep,
Go ahead.
it's on the agenda, I promise.
All right, thanks.
What I want you to make sure that you understand from what I'm doing, though, is that we can build a lesson based on things that we already have available to us, and kids don't have to go log in anywhere. It's going to deliver it directly to them. So let me show you just really quick how to add those drawing tools on top. So once I start recording, I tap my pen. If I tap it twice, I can change the size. I can come over here and tap the color, and it's actually recording me. So I might want to tell kids, look for the chunk IGH. Remember, it says I. Now use that chunk to decode the word, full height. So I'm going to actually use this page to model. When I'm done, I click done. So I've actually put together a instructional piece for them with this. And so the kids are going to move through that. Now I'm going to go ahead and click my check to submit that. So now we've got our instructional piece here, and students are going to demonstrate and apply what they learned on this page. So for this particular activity, they're going to be moving the words and matching them to pictures. If you need to, you can utilize this caption tool to add directions to the individual pages within either the multimedia or the students. So if I click on that, I can type the directions, or I can go ahead and add voice here. Hi students, go ahead and move each word to match it to the picture that it represents. When you're done, tap the microphone and use the arrow to point and read your words. So now the caption, it's a little tricky to see on my computer, but the caption has kind of a blue circle around it. So kids, we can actually put in the directions to tell kids to go tap that caption to hear the directions, but I just wanted you to know that that's a feature that's available to them. So we're going to push this into our class, and so you can see what that looks like. And I apologize again for my accidental blue line that I drew on there. So this is to assign it to the class. I clicked assign, and I will show you that again in a slower version in a minute. For the kids to get there, when they log into Seesaw, they'll go to their light bulb. They can click here on the picture to actually listen to the lesson. Hi guys, oops, they'll scroll through page to page. And then when they're done, they'll go back. They can listen to the directions here, but then for add response, that's going to take them to the template. If they click into the template without going to the directions, they can come up here and get to it in the same way. So that is kind of how the lesson flows. So we're taking something that was already created and we're building instruction upon it, if that makes sense. So one of the questions that you asked, I'm going to go back to the book thing. When we create an activity, if I wanted to start from scratch by chance, when I create an activity and I go to add multimedia, which is where we're going to park our lessons, I have the option to add a link. So if I wanted to add a YouTube video, I could do that there. I could go ahead and record, click video and just record myself giving a lesson. I can add a photo. I can go directly to that whiteboard space and utilize any of the tools. So I can do that as well. But the one I want to address with you now is the upload feature for multiple links. So there is not a way to post multiple links if you go to that link icon on that page. So an alternative is to create something in one of my favorite tools in the world, which is Google Slides. And it doesn't have to look pretty and fancy. It doesn't have to have this many icons on it. But basically what I did is I inserted pictures, and each of these pictures I embedded a link into it to take kids to a different resource. And so this will be the lesson portion of my Seesaw activity. So just to give you a quick rundown, is it when I click on a picture or a piece of text in Google Slides, I can click this insert hyperlink up here and paste the link in and then click apply. This is one of the things that Laura and I decided to put together another training on, which we'll probably be offering towards the end of next week or the following week. If you'd like some more information on how do I do that, definitely put that in your Google form at the end, so we know to reach out to you and make sure that you know that you're aware of when that training is being offered. So if I want to deliver multiple media sources to students, and these again are non-subscription sources. So there are lots of things out there that we can share with you in that, that next training that we're putting together. But the best way for me to deliver this to students is to take my slide, and I'm going to go down to publish to the web. This is going to give me a unique, sorry, my iPad's making sounds over here. I'm going to click my URL and then hop over to my Seesaw activity. And I'm going to say, instead of going to upload, I'm sorry I said upload, I'm going to go ahead and do a link here and add that to my Seesaw activity. I'm going to go ahead and say continue instead of grab it from my drive. So if I add it from my drive, it requires when students open it that they click on view doc. So it's an extra step for students. And so I like to make things as easy and independent as I can for kids. Parents are very overwhelmed at home right now. And so instead I do use the publish link. So let me show you what this is going to look like on their end. So again, this is my activity name. My directions would go here. My voice recording would tell them to go first to the multimedia for the lessons. And then I would come back here and create a template for them to respond to me. It doesn't have to be anything super crazy. I'm putting one together right now for the plant unit. Maybe it could be draw a plant and label its parts. So I can just grab that, and so kids know what to do. Again, I can add multiple pages for my template as well. So when we go ahead and publish this one, I'm going to go ahead and save the activity. So this is just put the activity for me together. And we're going to go ahead and assign it to students again so you can see what this looks like on the student view. So before we assign it to students, I do want to show you how to share. So I'm going to click my three dots. I've already copied and edited, so I'm going to go down to share this time and talk with you about your options. So if you created a great lesson and you want to share it with your school teammates, you can go ahead and click on share to school library. You would select the grade level, the subject, and your school should be down here, and then you'd click share. Another alternative to sharing lessons with your team is to come down here and copy the activity link and then paste that into your lesson plans. Either way, I will recommend that you do not use email to teachers. I've had zero success with that. So I don't know if things get caught in our filters or what, but I just have not seen it work whatsoever. So that's how I would share it with my teams. To assign the activity to my students, I'm going to click assign. I'm going to find the class I want it to go to, and then I do want to share some options with you here. So right next to this, before I assign, if I click these over here, I have the option to share this activity with all my students. I can deselect that and say, just deliver this activity to these students. So I can just click and tell it who to give it to. Sample student is a feature that you want. I will show you how to turn on when we go back to our Seesaw class. So if you create an activity, you can go in and do the activity as a sample student to test it before you put it in front of kids. So that's just good practice. I can also go over here to folders. So you are going to be doing lots of online work on Seesaw, and you're going to want to go back to things at some point and look at student work after the fact. So folders is a way to organize student work as it comes in. In a classroom setting, I would just tell students, put that in the pink, guided reading folder or whatever. Students, you don't have access to students now, and so you can go ahead and pre-program the activity to go into a specific folder when they finish it. So and you can tag more than one folder. So I am going to encourage you to go very specific on your folders. So I wouldn't do a general reading folder and only send it to that. I could do a general reading folder and then also tag the phonics patterns folder. So you can tag up to 5 things, and when we go back to our class, I'll show you why this is so important. Your TEKs are already in there as well. If you want to tie TEKs to the activities, you can do that and then rate kids on it. That's an option for you. So I'm going to click the green check to go back to our assign menu. Down here at the very bottom, I also have the ability to schedule activities. So I can go ahead and plan my activities for next week, but I can say, don't let this activity show up for the kids until this date at this time. So that's an optional feature for you as well. Ready to deliver it to kids, assign to class, and then let's hop over to the class to see what that hyperdoc looks like. So because I added it as a published link, when students click on this, it's actually going to open up in a new window now. And these are, I have YouTube videos in here. This is Unite for Literacy books. So I'm able to embed the books directly in. And what's really awesome about this particular site is it reads it. It'll read it out loud to students.
Roots.
So I've got lots of resources here that kids will access. And then when they're done navigating the resources, they go back and click Add Response and complete their portion of the activity to show me what they've learned. All right, that was a lot of information. So let's take a pause for some questions. Laura?
It helps to unmute my microphone. Sorry about that. I'm having an awesome afternoon, y'all. This is just... Anywho, okay, good question. Is there a way to organize the work when publishing for parent view? So it's not just a bunch of news on their feed. And my response is parents only see their child's work, but they would still like to organize it like by subject. So what would you recommend? Like, can you explain more how parent view looks to them?
Yes, actually, let's hop over to look at a parent view. So I am attached to Seesaw classes as a parent as well. So I'm going to go, I didn't want to leave my class, so I'm going to go to the family account now. So like Laura said, because students are working off network right now, they are not able to see other students' work. When the parent goes to the journal view and looks at their students' work, it is kind of organized, I guess, a little bit. So this is the general view. This student doesn't have a lot of work in it. I don't think they have the ability to use folders. I can't speak to that 100% because I haven't utilized it.
I don't think they do either, but I don't know for sure. That's something that I can look up while you're proceeding.
Okay, that would be awesome. So the work is basically the newest work is going to show up on their journal on the top. So it's the newest to oldest from top to bottom, if that makes sense.
Sorry, can I ask a question to that?
Yeah, please.
So like I have stuff that I have archived from like the past because I used it in my classroom before this, and I like archived it so it'd be kind of a clean slate for the online learning, but they're still able to access it. Like a lot of my students are still doing like old work that they've had, I guess. And so they're not getting to do the activities that I'm sending out now.
Okay, so first thing, I do want to emphasize that, whoops, I guess I need to leave that family account before I go back to my class. So first thing I want to emphasize is that students should be accessing the class app at home, not the family app. So the family app is for communication. The class app is for the learning. So what parents are seeing on their end is only completed work. They are not able to access activities at all there. So on your activity feed, if you have activities, because over time, obviously we've been told at least till the 24th, we're going to be doing online learning. And so each week, what you're going to want to do is go in and clean up your activity feed. So you'll want to go to the 3 dots, and once the kids have done the activity, you'll see archive activity there. Archive activity is going to move that activity off that activity feed so it's not there anymore. If nobody's done it, you'll be able to delete it, but if it hasn't been done, you will, if the work has been completed by students, you will do the archive. It should not appear there anymore. Does that kind of help, or do you want to clarify in your question?
I am archiving it, but I don't know how they're still accessing it then if it's supposed to be deleted because some of my kids are doing old work.
Yeah. What is possible is they could be going to the journal. And so anything that's in the journal, if you have item editing on, they can go here and do copy and edit or edit the item. So they may be going to old entries and editing the entries.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So in your, sorry about that. You are in complete control in Seesaw as the teacher. So if you come to your wrench, this brings up your class settings. And so, and it's very organized. This first part is, you know, basically the appearance of my class page. But the students section, I can come in here and I can turn off student likes and comments. I can turn off enable item editing. So if that's really becoming problematic for you, you can turn that off so they can't go back and edit things that they've done already. I personally like to leave it on because I want to encourage reflection, but it's up to you. This is where you're going to enable your sample student as well. You can also go down to families and you can click manage families to see which families are connected in the family app. It doesn't show you, all your kids are already connected in to Seesaw, but you can see which families are connecting and seeing it. You can also manage family likes and comments here. And because, like I said, the kids are working off network, they cannot see each other's work right now. So there is an advanced feature in Seesaw called the class blog. The class blog is a online, it's out there, published link where you can move student work. You can come down here and you have to enable the blog initially, and sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. You can go ahead and adjust settings on there, and you're able to password protect the class blog. So we are going to do additional trainings on the blog feature. So if that's something you're interested in learning more about, keep an eye for that or put it on your Google form question. But you can password protect the blog, so it's out there on the internet, but kids can only access it with the password and the link. So that's an option for you as well. So that kind of goes over your settings. I do want to mention your folders here. So I mentioned earlier about why it was important to use folders. So I'm going to look at student 11, and 11's got 57 pieces of work right now, but I want to just drill down and see maybe the reading work or the phonics work. So you notice when I click on number 11's name, I have his folder icon right here. And now I can go and say, just show me number 11's PD work. So I can go to whichever folder, and this narrows it down to just show me the things in that particular folder. So I can do that for the whole class, or just to look at a specific skill area for the class, or I can navigate it by student. I do want to also share with you, when students post work to Seesaw, you are not done yet. So teachers are in control of everything that comes into Seesaw. Everything requires approval. And again, that's something in the settings, but I would strongly encourage you, not because our families are connected, to always make sure that you have it turned on where you have to approve student work, and it is on by default. But as students turn in work, it's going to come to you, and you noticed I had a red bar at the bottom of my screen. That's letting me know I have unapproved work that I need to look at. So I'm going to look at this student's work, and I have a couple options. I can just go ahead and approve it. I can go ahead and delete it, which I discourage you from doing. If you feel like something that the student has done is so bad that it needs to be deleted, that's a teachable moment you need to touch base with the kid about. It's okay for students to submit work that's not perfect, because that's good information to share with families. You also have the send back, and this is relatively new. In the past, you had to be on one-to-one sign-in or email sign-in. Seesaw just released this ability yesterday that everyone has the send back feature now. So let's say this student turned this work into me, and it's obviously not complete. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down, and I actually have done this one already. Anything that comes into Seesaw, I have the ability to do some things with before I give it back to students, or after it's already posted, either one. So anything in Seesaw has these abilities. I can click the like button. I can click the comment button and I can type a comment, or I can go ahead and record a comment for the student. Hey kids, way to go. I love how you did that, but you need to go back and finish it. So now when the student gets that work back or sees it on their journal feed, if I approve it, they're going to see those comments attached to it. I also have the ability to add a private teacher comment if I just need to make a note for myself that, hey, go back and look at this, visit this skill with this kid later. If a student wanted to add something to the blog, or you wanted to add it to the blog, you would click the little world icon, and teachers have to approve blog things moving to the blog as well. So if a student clicked that on accident, you would get a notification that they want to add it to the blog and can approve or deny. I also want to show you, if I click on my 3 dots, and I've already done it on this one, but if I edit item, I can actually add things on top of this work. So I went to the camera and clicked upload, and I'm going to grab, I'm a Bitmoji girl, I love Bitmoji, so I'm going to grab a Bitmoji that I've saved, or you can add any kind of image, and then attach that on top of the student work. So I grabbed my superhero earlier. I can drop this on top of the work for students, kind of like in the old days when we used to get stickers. I can also add text boxes on top of their work. And these 3 boxes underneath, I can change the color of my text box to make it pop out, and then I can move it around. So when the student gets that work back, they're going to see those things on top of their work. So just another way to give good feedback. So again, I did not send it back, but if I were to click the send back button, the student would get that back and be able to see all those things on there. Laura, I see the orange button flashing. Do we need to pause for some questions?
Let's see. I think I've answered them. I did find the answer to the folders in the family app. Yes, you can.
Awesome.
So I pasted the link into the chat room, and it has screenshots of what the parents need to do, because by default, the little folders part is hidden. So they have to click on it to expand it, and then they can see folders. So as long as you are putting the lessons in the folders, they will be able to filter by folder.
Super cool.
I know, and I did not know that about the send back feature. That is amazing. I wish I knew this morning, because in my webinar I told them that they couldn't do that in the
Yes, they just added it yesterday. They had a 12:30 webinar and pushed that one out yesterday, so really cool.
And then I think that's it. I think I answered all of them.
Okay, cool. Well, I have some more for them, so I'm sure your brains are exploding, but I'm going to give you a little bit more. So another thing that I want to share with you is using an extension called Screencastify. So Screencastify is up here in my bar, my browser bar. So what extensions do is that they add productivity to your web browser. So they allow you to do additional things. So to get Screencastify, I'm going to go to the App Store here, and then into my web store. So I clicked it, apps on my thing. I'll type in Screencastify, and it's going to pull it up. Yours is going to say add to Chrome, and you would go ahead and click add to Chrome to add this to your browser bar. Now, to give you a little bit of background on what Screencastify is it is a recording tool that is going to allow you to record anything that you're doing in your web browser to share with students. So I'm going to hop over here to show you one way you can use it. So this is the Math Learning Center. It is linked in our slide deck. And I'm going to go with something pretty simple, like number frames. So this center allows me to use any of these math manipulatives online. And I'm going to use Screencastify to record myself modeling a lesson here. So I'm setting up my desktop. You can do this with a Google slide presentation, anything that you can access on the web. So what this looks like, the first time that you open it, you will need to sign into your with your Google credentials. The reason for this is because Screencastify is going to create a folder in your Google Drive called Screencastify, and it's going to save all these videos automatically there for you. So if I click Screencastify, it opens up my menu, and I've got some options. I can just record my browser tab, I can set it to my desktop, or I can just record a video of myself. I want to make sure my microphone's on, and then if I leave embed webcam on, that's going to put a little video of me in the bottom of my recording. which I think is, again, really important. We want your face in front of kids, so that's a good feature to have. More options, you can set a countdown, which is helpful to me, and then you have some drawing tools. So to launch it, it's super easy. I just click record. Hi, kids. Oh, share screen, wait for the countdown. So now Screencastify is recording what I'm doing, and I'm actually able to manipulate everything on the screen, and it's recording everything I'm doing. So when I'm done with my lesson and my talking, I'm going to go ahead and click Stop Sharing, and it's going to move me to the Screencastify window, and I'm going to share a couple tips and tricks that I learned the hard way here. So the first thing is, these are going into my Google Drive, and what I found is I was making lots of things and then not able to locate them later because I didn't name them wisely. So you see up here, when you come into your Screencastify window, I'm going to go ahead and change it, name it, so I can find it later. So first thing you want to do. So now Screencastify is recording what I'm doing, and I'm actually able to, sorry about that. So over here on the right now, I have some different options. So I can go ahead and copy a shareable link. Let me see if I can move this down. But if I click more options, right within the Screencastify window, I can go ahead and change the privacy of my video. I can go ahead and share it directly to Classroom or YouTube. What I'm going to show you now, though, is how to download it and add it to your Seesaw activity. So I'm going to go to click Download. It's going to go ahead and add this video to my download folder, so you see it sitting there waiting. And I'm going to go ahead and go over to my Seesaw, create an activity. I can again add this to one that I've already found in the library, but the lesson flow is the same. Remember, your instruction goes in the Add Multimedia. So I upload, go and find my 10-frame video, which went to my downloads. And we'll see what it looks like pulling it in. Sorry, I've got a lot of stuff in my downloads folder. So there's 10 frames. And I have embedded a lesson in there for my students now. So easy peasy lemon squeezy, really easy to use. You are limited to 5 minutes on the free version. But at the end of the slide deck, which I'll show you in a minute, there is directions for how you can access the paid version at an unpaid cost for the remainder of the school year. But even before I personally subscribed to it myself because I needed more recording time for my job. But really, kids' attention spans, we need to keep our videos 2-3 minutes max. 5 is pretty long, so you want to just keep it succinct and deliver the instructions smoothly and quickly. So we talked a little bit about most of these things. I just want to make sure we didn't miss anything important, and then I want to give some time for questions. So start with your recorded lesson, record on top of things, use the Screencastify to record, use those multi-page activities to add a little bit more meat. You know how to share the activities now with your teammates and how to deliver them to students. You don't always, not everything that we're putting into Seesaw has to be instruction-based. Like I said, we're all kind of alone in our homes now. So it's okay to just add, post something to the journal that says, hey, you know, a video or just a comment. Hey, what are you reading at home? Or hey, tell me about, did you go outside today? What did you do? You also can use the announcements features in Seesaw to communicate with families. So again, the students are accessing the class app, but anything that you, if I come to my plus and do send announcement, I can send announcements to families. Like Laura said, if they're struggling with accessing those subscription resources, this would be a great place to share that video. So if I go to add attachment, I can drop a link or use any of these creative tools, and that will be shared with families. So that's another way that we want to communicate with our families. This is brand new to them too. So we talked about you posting our recordings and really prompt kids for deeper thinking. So if you haven't used Seesaw much in the classroom, I will be very frank with you. When students use it initially, they maybe don't do the best quality work. They're having fun with the tool, and I get it. So when using those commenting features, you're going to move kids towards better use of the product, you know, through asking questions, you know, like send work back to students, ask them to explain, tell me a little bit more. It's a learning process, so kind of guide them through that. And I already mentioned about the non-tech ideas. We talked about the send back feature. Like I said, this was updated yesterday, so I actually am going to get rid of that because you already have that available. So you can do all sorts of things. So we looked at doing the activities. We looked at doing announcements. You also can just post to the journal, just going post student work. Use any of these tools to, like I said, share what, you know, get your face in front of kids, ask them a question, things like that. So it doesn't always have to be in the form of an activity. It could be a morning meeting. It could be a touch base. You can read a short book that you have approval to read. And just, you know, make sure you're sharing appreciation. We want to create activities that kids can be as independent as they can with. So, you know, parents are stressed right now. There's a lot going on with jobs and, you know, many have multiple kids at home. We are not expecting parents to become teachers. So we need to utilize the tool to provide that instruction and support for families and just help families navigate through those processes. I do want to share with you on this page, this is the activity icon resource that I showed you. So if you want to create any of those little icons as you're building activities, this is where you're going to find them. And again, this will be shared with you when you fill out the Google form. And then to get your free Screencastify subscription, this is the link and the information is in the speaker notes for you. So if you need any more information on and I'll open it up to questions and post the link right now, but the ITS channel, we've been working really hard to, you know, give you guys a plethora of resources so you can connect with us on Twitter, on Facebook. Our YouTube channel has a ton of resources available for you. And then, you know, all of the instructional technology specialists ourselves are available to help. So reach out to yours and find out who, you know, ask questions and ask for help. We can meet virtually with you to help you with all sorts of good stuff.
Difficulty,